Yo, what is bro even doing? Oh my god, he got that arch though. Damn. Earlier this year, I finally decided to give Sekiro Shadows Die Twice a chance, and I just couldn't do it.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
Believe me, it wasn't because of the game's difficulty, it was just that something just wasn't clicking for me. So just like the life support of a Diddy fan, I pulled the plug. But a little while ago,
I think a light bulb just lit up in my conscience.
and let me tell you something, brother. This time around, I got hooked to this game like it was straight out of Heisenberg's lab. So after spending an unhealthy amount of time in Sekiro over the course of an entire week, killing every main and mini boss, getting the true ending, and then going straight on to a New Game Plus run, I'm here to tell you if this game is worth your time or not, because unlike almost every other YouTuber, I am someone who actually has the balls to criticize a From Software game. Because believe me, this game has its fair share of f***ups as well, so if you were expecting me to be biased, then
See you, chump. What the hell?
the plot is basically the Terminator but on crack. You play as Wolf/Sekiro, a skilled shinobi sworn to protect a young boy named Kuro who possesses the power of Dragon's heritage. It is basically an ancient gift that gives immortality. During an attack, Kuro gets kidnapped as Wolf loses one of his arms trying to defend him. Then he is left for dead.
I understood that reference.
Wolf later awakens in a temple saved by a mysterious sculptor who replaces his severed arm with a powerful and versatile shinobi prosthetic. From here on out, Wolf sets out to rescue Kuro and confront those who caused the chaos in Ashina while also uncovering complex secrets and amnesia along the way. The rest is up to you to find out, and I won't spoil anything major. This is probably the most straightforward story From Soft has ever made, and it shows that they can actually tell a decent tale if they focus on less stuff at a given time, give up the wannabe cool cryptic bullshit aimed at 14-year-old edgelords, and don't straight up skip the entire storytelling process by just writing shit in collectibles. Anyone who thinks that reading is a good method of storytelling in an interactive medium such as video games needs to pull their head out of their ass. No one thinks you're cool because of this shit, lil bro. If someone has to look online to even understand what your story is about, then you have absolutely failed at your job as a storyteller. Thankfully, that is not the case here. There are a decent number of cutscenes which are clear, concise, and well spaced out. Character interactions during gameplay reveal really interesting details about the world. The themes of immortality, loyalty, and redemption are explored pretty well. My only major problem with the story is that it really drags at times, especially when you try to get the so-called true ending. That shit is so stressed out, it gives Lana Rhodes a run for her money. There is so much BS padding through over convoluted set of actions that no one would ever even think of doing without looking online. There is nothing praiseworthy about a game failing to contextualize stuff. Straight to jail. Now let's get to the spicy stuff which we're all here for, the gameplay. It's okay, buddy. Sun's getting real low. It will all be over soon. You're welcome. First of all, the map of Sekiro is just awesome. It is genuinely insane how the devs of this game were able to make a map with so much visual and atmospheric variety that just flows so seamlessly. Like seriously, man, the first time you play this game and actually go from one area to another without using the fast travel feature, you will be blown away by how you've just traveled to a location with a completely different feel to the previous one with zero loading screens. I mean, there are certain locations that have a kind of loading screen, but most of the game feels like one cohesive, uninterrupted map. There are layers to this shit, bruh. And unlike other From Software games, the traversal is actually kind of fun here. This is mainly because of the grappling hook, the design of platforming sections that do a really good job at pacing out action sequences, and the crazy ass set pieces. At times this game had me more scared than I've been playing any horror game in the past few years, and I'm not even joking, bro. And man, I can't emphasize how important exploration is in this game. By exploring, you can stumble upon very good resources, shops where you can buy and sell items, side quests that give you worthwhile rewards, and even full-blown skill trees, bro, which feels so rewarding. Not to mention the various optional mini-bosses which can be a fuck ton of fun to fight. Speaking of which, let's get to the meat and potatoes, which is the combat system. Oh! Sit down, bitch! Sekiro is much more of an action and stealth game than a Souls-like. I mean, you do have stuff from other From Software games like health flasks, resting points which replenish items and respawn normal enemies and that kind of stuff, but that's basically where the similarities end. Now, I'm not denying the fact that Sekiro is a very difficult game, but I think why most people struggle with this game the most in particular is that they play it like it is a Souls game, and that is a surefire way to guarantee that you'll get your ass beat here. Aggression is the name of the game in Sekiro. You don't wait for the enemy to attack while you stand around like a pussy ass bitch. Instead, you are constantly incentivized to push the enemy and play aggressively rather than defensively. Hell, the game outright tells you that
Sekiro. Hesitate, and you lose.
you have no stamina bar, so you are free to attack and reposition during fights to your heart's content, which, believe me, you'll need to do a lot here. The game's emphasis on swordsmanship means that there's more focus on blocking and more importantly parrying than dodging. This goes hand in hand with the introduction of a posture system. You and your enemies both have a posture meter which fills up when guarding attacks or taking damage. When you break an enemy's posture, you get the chance to give a death blow which instantly kills the enemy or takes away an entire health bar from enemies which have multiple ones. But when your posture bar breaks, you are left naked to the enemy's attacks for a small window, which is enough to turn the tables in a game like this. The main difference health bar makes in this regard is that at lower health, the recovery of the posture meter is slower. Now, of course, sprinkled between blockable attacks are sweeps, grapples, and thrusts for variation just the way your mother likes it. But because Sekiro wants and rewards you for getting all up in the enemy's faces, sweeps can be dealt with effectively by jumping over them, grapples can be avoided by sidestepping, and the best way to deal with thrusting attacks is the Mikiri counter, which is so unbelievably satisfying. So in this way, skillful players can defend themselves while also damaging the enemy's posture at the same time. These systems make Sekiro's combat feel like a rhythm game where you go blow for blow with the enemies. You also have a lot of room for strategizing as you can take out enemies stealthily. For example, taking out these Lizzo build dudes can be very helpful before moving on to dealing with the rest of the goons. No, not this, god damn it bro, I miss when goon used to mean henchman. You also get certain items that help you in stealth by luring enemies to you so that you can take them out. Stealth is genuinely a lifesaver here, man, because the combat doesn't work very well when trying to go ham on multiple enemies at once because it wasn't built for that. I mean, there are situations when you can make quick work of multiple enemies as the death blow gives you invincibility frames, but overall, the combat system was primarily built for one-on-one fights, so the best strategy is to space the enemies out and thin down their numbers. And with stuff like no stamina meter, decent jump heights and climbing, and of course the grappling hook, creating distance between you and multiple enemies is promoted more than ever, even when your cover is blown. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is one of the most skill-based games I've ever played, except when it isn't. Don't worry, I'll get to that in a bit. In games like Dark Souls and Elden Ring, while you do feel like you're getting better, one can argue that a lot of that feeling can be attributed to your character build improving. That is not the case in Sekiro, however. You don't have any sort of armor pieces, you carry the same main weapon from the beginning to the end, and regardless of however many meaningful prosthetics, upgrades, and skills you buy, which there are a lot of here, what consistently matters the most is how much better you get as a player during your time with this game. It feels so rewarding to go from dying to an enemy to barely making it through a phase to then absolutely styling on them because you got better, not your character build, you as a player. In this way, you actually make Sekiro easier over time through learning. And if I'm being honest, Sekiro is also the most fun I've had in that learning process out of any From Software game. The revive feature also contributes to that. Every time you respawn, you get at least one chance to revive after dying. You can increase the number of revives up to 3 for each run, but can't spam them since you do have a very noticeable cooldown between each revive. Now, to further balance out reviving, the game has another system in place. Please bear with me here, this part is kinda nerdy. In the game, you have Unseen Aid, which is basically your chance of not losing any XP or currency when you die. But when you die a lot, like not revive fully die, you basically have a chance of getting Dragon Rot, which can reduce your chances of getting Unseen Aid and also affect the world around you by disabling access to certain vendors until you cure the Dragon Rot using a rare item. Yes, there are elements of dynamism here where your actions can affect the world. Another example of this is this forest area, which is covered in fog and illusions. However, you can clear it by reaching and killing the hardest enemy in the game, which is very cool. There are not a lot of things which are more satisfying than going back to an area and realizing how much better you've gotten at the game since then. Enemy variety is obviously incredible and very memorable, with every enemy type having their own unique movesets and abilities that you need to learn in order to conquer them effectively. Like, come on man, this game lets you kill evil nuns, what more can you ask for? The main and mini boss fights are just glorious, bro. They are a true test of skill and taking them on feels epic. The boss fights are some of the most frustrating and some of the most fulfilling experiences at the same time. Once in a while, the game will also throw in a completely unique mini boss like this knight here to throw you off your game. This dude's health can't be damaged, so the only way you can kill him is to break his posture and then send him flying off a bridge. Hell, some mini bosses like this dude are more difficult than most of the main bosses. The big baddies have multiple phases, each one pushing you to adapt, learn, and formulate a strategy, all while keeping the incentive on being aggressive intact. Like, there were only two boss fights, which are the Demon of Hatred and the Guardian Ape, where I felt like playing this game defensively and patiently like a Souls game was more beneficial than being aggressive. Other than that, the game legit turns into playable anime, especially in the main boss fights, and the epic soundtrack only adds to that sentiment. Seriously man, once you go back to a boss after you have basically downloaded his moveset and then straight up annihilate him, that moment is gonna stick with you. And actually learning to that level is more hassle-free and promoted than ever, because this is also the only FromSoft game that has a feature to replay bosses, and my god does it make a difference. Since this is a game where you are incentivized to learn and go from surviving bosses to styling on them, the ability to fight any main bosses you've previously defeated again is such a welcome addition. The devs also added a gauntlet mode post-launch, which is available after you beat the main story. This is where boys turn into men as you go from one boss arena to the next with the aim to not fully die, because
If you do,
it's right back to the first boss of the gauntlet. Another thing they added with this mode is different variations of 3 different bosses. For example, Inner Genichiro, which sounds like a song that a weeb might sing, is a variation of the boss Genichiro from the main game with new moves added to his arsenal. And finally, the awesome New Game Plus options are just the cherry on top of an already very replay-worthy game. The combat here is so satisfying, it is ridiculous, man. But it is still not as satisfying as you subscribing to the channel. The visuals and sound effects are tuned to perfection here. Every kill, every clash of swords, every Mikiri counter just makes a white tear roll down my leg. Plus, there is so much depth to this combat system, and it is the perfect example of focusing on less is more. You of course have your basics like healing upgrades, consumable items that buff your meters, cure effects and all that sort of stuff, but you also have various ninjutsu techniques like this one where you can cover your sword in your enemy's blood to extend its range and damage. Shit is so goddamn cool, bruh. Or this one where you can mind control an enemy to get him to fight on your side. Oh, god damn. Thanks, bro. You can also equip a special move from a whole bunch, which range from singular strikes to full-blown kung fu combos to absolutely devastating shit like this. You can obtain many different prosthetics which act as secondary weapons which provide a lot of utility. The shuriken can be used to interrupt kangaroo-ass enemies which jump around a lot in midair. Shields can be broken easily by using the axe prosthetic. The fire prosthetic makes fighting enemies with red eyes a cakewalk and so much more. The amount of depth in these systems is crazy, bro. But you cannot just mindlessly spam these because the ninjutsu moves, the prosthetics, and the very powerful kind of special moves use the limited ammo resources, and because you also need to actually look for an opening to use them, as you can be interrupted while performing them. Speaking of interrupting, this is a game where when an enemy does a lightning attack, you can jump and actually catch that lightning and then send it back at them, and it is one of the sickest things I've ever experienced in a game. This is methodical action that doesn't forget the cool factor. Unlike Souls games, Sekiro is a game where you get the feeling that you can do as much cool shit as the bosses themselves, and it feels earned.
It's so beautiful.
This is legit one of the best, most satisfying and addictive combat systems I have ever laid these beautiful manly hands on. Now with all that being said, the combat isn't perfect and does have quite a few issues. The air takedown is very inconsistent, like there are so many times where the red indicator doesn't even trigger and you just end up revealing yourself to the enemy for no reason, looking like an absolute dumbass. Some normal enemies like this one aren't a challenge, they are just an annoyance. There are also a few bosses and mini bosses which are recycled just to add a bit of padding to the game, like this bull which is recycled twice just with different colors, or this headless mini boss which is recycled 5 different times. But hey, 2 of those times you have to fight this annoying little prick underwater, where one of those times he also has a doppelganger, because fuck me, that's why.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
There are also instances where the game just goes like, screw it man, I don't even care. Here, fight the goddamn big ape boss again, but this time, we're gonna throw in his girlfriend mid-fight as well. This game really wants me to hate monkeys. Certain bosses are borderline impossible to kill without specific items. For example, the headless mini bosses I mentioned earlier require a rare item called the Divine Confetti to kill, which is just straight up bullshit, bro. This completely goes against the trial and error psychology of the game, as you've basically introduced a barrier which will force players into farming items. When you pull this type of shit on the player, it basically removes any sort of guilt he might have if he decides to cheese these type of fights. Fuck with the player and the player will fuck with you. Simple as that. Enemy placement is also an absolute joke in certain locations. You'll be fighting a mini boss already struggling and will then get sniped out of nowhere by an enemy you can't even see. No way, no goddamn way! This shit is just straight up unfair, dog. Hitboxes are just straight up stupid a lot of times, where you just teleport into the enemy's arms for a romantic date, even though you clearly dodged out of the way. And finally, the camera system is legit one of the worst things created by mankind, because what else can you expect from a FromSoft game? The camera has a mind of its own and will frustrate the hell out of you in already tense situations. It will suddenly shift under the enemy to give a glimpse of their gracious nutsack and even automatically remove the lock-on from an enemy. There were so many times I died in this game solely because of the fact that the bullshit camera wouldn't let me see anything. These are already difficult games, so these problems hit like a kick in the balls. Most of the kind of problems I mentioned here have plagued basically every FromSoft game since the beginning. And the worst part is that at this point, I'm convinced that FromSoft will never put in the effort to finally fix this shit in any game they ever make, because they are convinced that they can just be complacent in this regard and keep getting away with it. This is because the no-life redditors keep shilling, just fighting battles on behalf of their overlord corporations, and try to gaslight everyone by saying brain dead shit like the camera is a skill check.
Shut your stupid.
I guarantee you that there will be some incels in the comment section of this video as well who will dismiss any sort of valid criticism by saying get good or skill issue, because they are insecure little basement dwellers whose only sort of accomplishment in life comes from the fact that they finished a difficult video game. In conclusion, from quitting this game in 2 hours to now putting it in the category of one of my favorite action games of all time, I have come a long way with Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. It is such a fun game and has a trait which is very rare these days, and that is a strong focus on replayability. And while it does have its fair share of issues, there is also so much that it does right that I can't help but love this game. In my opinion, it might just be the best game FromSoft has ever made, right up there with Bloodborne, but unlike Bloodborne, I would even recommend this game to people who don't usually like FromSoft games. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. My god, was this video difficult to record. My recording stopped twice, so I had to re-record some of the stuff over and over again. It was just a whole mess. But anyways, here's another video that you will enjoy, so be sure to check it out as well. As always, subscribe and I'll see you next time.